Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
I was reading a little bit from Matt Schneidman did a mailbag piece for The Athletic. Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers and such. And I always kind of chuckle at some of these questions. Like one person asked him, why does Luke Musgrave look like a drunk Bambi deer anytime he runs? I never thought of it that way. But I'm sorry. It kind of is. Watch Luke Musgrave run routes. Sometimes it looks awkward. And struggles to stay on his feet at times. I don't know what it is. Matt responded, it's not graceful, I'll say that. Musgrave not being able to stay on his feet kind of started as a joke, but it looks more like a reality after Sunday's game. Yeah, but that is a fantastic comparison. Whoever at Scalps Trading is on Twitter, well done. Well done. But, obviously a lightning topic this week has been, and for all season in the last couple of weeks, has been Jordan Love. And one of the questions was, why is the national narrative around Jordan Love so toxic? Many national voices seem to think he's a bum, whereas the advanced analytics point to him being elite. Is it the drops, inconsistency of the offense, style of YOLO balls, or that he's not a Hall of Famer like Favre or Rodgers yet? Matt responded by saying, I can't speak for others and how they craft their opinions, but what I think of Love from watching pretty much every snap of his career is that he's a guy with whom you can absolutely win a Super Bowl with. Are there occasional confounding moments? Of course, most quarterbacks have them. Just look at Josh Allen, Sam Darnold in recent weeks. Love's talent is undeniable. His ability to throw on the run, his accuracy on and off platform, and his arm strength are just a few traits most of the league's quarterbacks would love to have. If you don't care for the eye test, he ranks third in offensive pass EPA per dropback behind Drake May and Allen per True Media, and eighth in passer rating. And I think it kind of goes back to, we were throwing out yesterday, what does Love have to do outside of win a Super Bowl to maybe change that narrative? What else does he have to do? So, I don't know if you're still listening, Surveyor, but maybe you kind of like that response. So, Packers will be back at practice today in preparation for their game against the Vikings this week. Be an interesting day at practice, too, because on one hand, will Josh Jacobs practice? Will Jordan Love practice? I don't think there's any question Jordan Love's going to play, but how do they manage this week with him with that shoulder? Quay Walker, some of the other guys, too, a little bit banged up from that game, Zach Tom and such. Matthew Golden. How do they manage this workload this week for those guys, knowing it's a short week next week, too? I think that's a factor in this thing. For some of these guys who are banged up, for some of these guys who are hurt, how do they manage the workload this week? How does it affect their game designations for Sunday, knowing you have a huge game on Thursday, a division game going up against the Lions? I think it has to be a part of the game planning. Has to be a part of the thought process, especially when it comes to a guy like Josh Jacobs. It's also going to be an interesting day to see whether Jayden Reed is going to be opening up that 21-day practice window. Marshawn Lloyd. I wouldn't hold your breath on whether whether Jayden Reed's going to play this weekend, even if he does practice. Don't hold your breath on that. I mean, they have 3 weeks to ramp him up, to get him ready. I mean, he's coming off of 2 surgeries, okay? Shoulder and foot. It's not like it's, just he's been resting. It's 2 surgeries. So I don't expect him to play this week, even if he is opening up that practice window today. I know the last couple of weeks he's been working off to the side and such, and I'm sure he's been doing more behind closed doors that we don't see or the media doesn't see, but I wouldn't be putting your eggs in that basket that if Jayden Reed practices today, he's going to be playing this weekend. It'd be a nice surprise. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'm not going to be all counting on that. And next week might even be pushing it too. The thing is, I would love Jayden Reed next week against Detroit. I would love him. Love him. I want him back ASAP, as soon as possible, because of what he does for this offense, what he gives this offense, that extra element, the variations that he can give you within this offense. I would absolutely love that. I don't see him back for these next 2 weeks, even if he is at practice today. But if he is at practice today, it's a positive step. Look at it as a positive step. All right, he's nearing return. He's coming back soon. He's getting there. But it is an interesting week here that Green Bay is going to have to figure out when it comes to these guys that are banged up, to these guys that are hurt. How do you manage this week? Knowing you have a short week, not only just a short week, but a huge divisional game against the Lions in their house. That place is going to be rocking. You beat the Lions earlier this week. You know you're going to get a little bit of a chip, okay? Players can't really focus on the Lions because this game against Minnesota, you better not overlook Minnesota. I view Minnesota as a must-win. With this schedule, with these final 7 games, and with how tight the NFC is, with how tight the division is, it's almost like the playoffs have now started for a team like the Packers and a lot of these teams in this NFC conference and in the NFC North. And do not this is a big game for both Minnesota and Green Bay. Minnesota to kind of get back into this race, to kind of get off this schneid. They want to get some confidence going here, build off some success, get J.J. McCarthy right, get this offense flowing. Maybe kind of a, quote, save your season type of game going up against Green Bay. But on the flip side, too, Green Bay, you can't be losing much more of these conference games, let alone division games. If you want to get to the postseason, if you want to maybe still win the division, have a chance for that, still kind of control your destiny, you want to get to that point, you got to win this weekend's game. And with the way McCarthy has been playing, the accuracy issues, you got to hopefully that's still the case here because, I mean, in any other day, JJ, Justin Jefferson and such, with the cornerbacks group, I'd be nervous. But, I mean, McCarthy's almost, the way he's been playing here as of late, is kind of the equalizer in all this. Because if he's going to miss his throws and he's going to be inaccurate and just continue to, let's call it, play some subpar quarterbacking, it's the equalizer when you're going up against an incredibly talented wide receiver like Justin Jefferson. That's the equalizer, is the bad quarterback play. If you're worried about Jefferson potentially matched up with Nixon or whomever. And if he's going to come into Lambeau and play like that too, take advantage of it, Green Bay. Got to take advantage of it. Or here's the other thing. How about you don't let him gain some confidence, okay? I want to see Green Bay's defense come out hot right away, just like aggressive right away, and try to rattle McCarthy right away. Don't let him get comfortable. Don't let him get into a little bit of a zone. Because I got to imagine Kevin O'Connell this week is going to try to figure out ways, hey, how do we get McCarthy in a groove right away? How do we get him comfortable right away? How do we build his confidence right away? Maybe a little bit shorter passes. Maybe getting the running game going. Maybe some easy throws. Then on the counter side of that, if you're Jeff Hafley, how do I stop that? How do I rattle his cage right away? How do I get Micah Parsons to just wreck him? How do I get the other guys involved? Maybe it's Quay Walker. Maybe it's Edgerrin Cooper. Maybe it's bringing a safety down to get after him right away. That's the chess match between those two. That is going to be a fun chess match between those two. And then on the flip side, if you're Green Bay's offense, how do you start off hot, though, too? We talk about Jordan Love, and we talk about this Packers offense finding a rhythm early. And I think that's getting the ball to Christian Watson early. Getting the ball. Who's your best playmaker on offense right now from outside the quarterback? And if Josh Jacobs isn't playing, who's the best one? Right now, for me, I'd probably go Watson. Dobbs is your safety net. But if you want to get into a little bit of a rhythm right away, I want to see them get Watson involved. I want to see them get Matthew Golden involved a little bit more. Get into that rhythm early. Get into the passing game. Get into that rhythm early. Build that confidence. Build that flow right away so we're not just kind of like slugging along, relying on our defense to keep the opponents, scoring at a minimum or shutting them out, and then finally we kick it in our own butts and get going and start to put up points. Let's get a rhythm going, and let's it's at Lambeau. We got people probably at Lambeau, I hope at least, not going deer hunting that day to go watch Packers Vikings. Let's reward them with the W. Okay? By the way, if you're a Packers fan, you're going to go deer hunting and you're not going to go to the game and you got tickets, make sure you're selling them to Packers fans. Okay? Don't want to have to see purple and all that in the stands. I want to see a bunch of blaze orange and green. That's what I want to see. But this is a must-win. A must-win. It's hard. It's hard not to focus on the Thanksgiving Day game against Detroit. I get that. I understand it. We as fans, we can. That team cannot. Should not. They don't have the luxury to. You've got to take care of business against a team that's going to come in desperate for a win. That's going to look for ways to get their young quarterback, their inexperienced quarterback, into a rhythm, into a groove. Don't allow it. And then on the offensive side, you got to find that rhythm right away yourself. But I understand from a coach's perspective and from a team perspective, they got to find that fine balance this week. Because even though it's a must-win, in my opinion, it's a must-win, how do you manage? You got a banged-up team. So how do you manage that to make sure that we still have these guys, or we have these guys ready to go for a big-time game on Thursday against the Lions? It's that fine balance.